we come into this simulation, and you pass through, you could call it a place of forgetfulness, an energy field of forgetfulness. And the idea is to remember, once you get in this simulation, where you come from and what there is beyond it. Let's just put this in matrix terms. You are in that other earth because this simulation is a copy, a digital copy on one level of the prime reality, because this earth exists in prime reality. And it's on that higher frequency, that higher vibration, that much more ethereal vibration. And it's heart-centered, and it's a beautiful, wonderful, wonderful place, like creation in general overwhelmingly is. And what they did was basically take a copy of that. And it's like taking a copy of a website. You take a copy of the website, and now you've got a copy. The original website's still there. You've only taken a copy of it. And that goes on being what it was before. Like this other earth is still an amazing, wonderful, full of love place. But once you've got your copy, although the original copy is a copy of that, you can now change the copy and you can do what you like to it. And what's been happening since this simulation was created is that it's been changed and changed and changed and changed to go further and further away from what I'll call it prime earth is, prime reality. And so that probe goes into the back of the head. You come in perceptually. You don't come in physically, you come in perceptually. And as you come in, the memories of prime earth can disappear. With some, you can still remember it, but they basically disappear. But much as they've tried, there is still a connection to out there, and it comes through here. And if this closes and you get pulled into only belly emotion and head thought perception, then you can become completely immersed in the matrix and see no other reality. Like the five senses just see the matrix. But if you can open this, you open your heart, you retain that connection to out there. And the more you open it, the more you, that connection becomes more and more powerful. The more you break through the veil of forgetfulness and you start to remember. You start to remember who you really are, where you really come from, and where you really are in terms of the simulation. We're in a simulation, and the limits of it are the speed of light. The head thinks, and it tries to work it out because it doesn't know. But the heart that's connected to beyond the simulation does know. And that's why intuitive knowing comes as a package. It doesn't come as a sequence of thought that reaches a conclusion. The conclusion comes in full. It's like, I just know. Oh, I'm thinking, I just know. That's the difference. You can remember, you can feel where we come from and the scale of love that's there, where we come from. And we came into this simulation to try to break the stranglehold that this reptilian force, this distorted consciousness has on humanity. And once you start to feel these things and understand these things, well, it happens on many levels. There's that level. I just know what this could be. I can know what's out there, and how this is not how creation is meant to be. This is just a a very, very dark place. But there's other levels too, which drive you on. When you can see where this sequence is taking people to get even more and more extreme in this simulation as they change the website, if you like, more and more and more and more from what it originally was. You can't look your own kids in the eye, your own grandkids in the eye. You have to do everything you can to make a difference. And what I can't understand, I've seen people come in and they realize something's going on and then they disappear. And some other people come up and they're flavor of the month for, short time, and then they disappear. And I look at it and I think, how can you walk away? If you claim to know where this is going, how can you walk away and leave people to their fate? I'm driven by wanting to break the stranglehold that this force has on human perception. And I'm driven by wanting to know the truth. And if from the other side comes abuse and ridicule, that is all irrelevant to me. I want to know the truth, and I shall pursue it no matter what the consequences, because I don't even think about consequences. Because it's about uncovering your truth and then speaking it. Not uncovering your truth and then keeping quiet about it because you don't want other people to think badly of you. This prison that people live in, the fear of what other people think. If you live in a prison, like most people do, of fearing what other people think, you're not you anymore. Never mind handing over your self-respect, you've handed over your uniqueness. You're now molding yourself to become what other people think you should be. Where have you gone? We are part of a infinite expression of consciousness, all possibility, all potential. But we are unique expressions of that as a unique series of experiences and perceptions that have created us, that have made us what we are. There is no contradiction between seeing that we're all one, that we're all expressions, points of attention within an infinite whole, and celebrating the uniqueness of our particular perceptual point. And if you start fearing what other people think about you, you start editing yourself, you start censoring yourself. Once you open your heart beyond the simulation, out into prime reality, then you lose the intimidation that comes with fear. Fear is not only the currency of control. Fear is the controller. This inverted state of consciousness, this chaotic, distorted state of consciousness that's seeking to pull human consciousness into itself and assimilate it, is what we call fear. It is itself fear. And that's why it wants many reasons and many advantages of doing this, but there's a key foundation that people miss. When you fall into states of fear, you fall into the frequency of that which is fear, and the fear is what the Native Americans call Wetiko. It is fear. That's why this cult is so fearful constantly of exposure. It's why it wants to control everything, because its insecurity comes from a state of fear. It is fear. It's how fear came into the world. This whole society we call human, which is the simulation, is founded on fear. Why? Because the consciousness that's behind it is itself fear. So when you open your heart, you move beyond Wetiko. Your frequency reaches a point that you're operating on that Wetiko can't touch. That's why it doesn't want love. That's why it doesn't want a society involving love. Because once you have love and joy, you're out of the layer, the frequency layer of Wetiko. And therefore it can't touch you, and it can't influence you, and it can't manipulate you. Love is knowledge. Love is intelligence, innate intelligence, untaught intelligence, known intelligence, all-knowing intelligence. And so this is the answer. On every level, this is the answer. And people think love is weak. Love is the ultimate power. Why? Because it doesn't have that which takes your power away. It doesn't have fear. And you put all these things together. Speak your truth. It doesn't matter what people think of you for speaking your truth. And if what you're saying has validity, eventually it will be shown to be so. And then instead of you trotting on towards the world as you're told to believe it, the world starts coming to you. And you start living life instead of life living you. You just do whatever that you're told to do. That's not what happens when you open your heart. Your heart won't have that. You start attracting in other people who are on that same vibe, and suddenly your life changes. The people that are in your life change if they don't move with you. You realize that life doesn't have to be what you thought it was. It can be an adventure. It can be a joy. It can be a unique expression of you. You don't have to be a clone of a system, just like everyone else. And it's only when the bubble bursts you realize you've been in one. Because this world seems so real in the way it seems through the five senses. But once the bubble bursts and you connect with out there, you realize what a prison you've been in. And it's been a mind prison. And the mind prison is creating what we perceive, what we experience as a physical prison. But everything is a mind prison. And we need to take our minds back and break out of this prison cell of the five senses. And then the walls of this prison, this mind prison, will fall. The mind that perceives limitation is the limitation. The mind that perceives little me is the little me. They're not real. They're what you perceive them to be. What you perceive, you believe. What you believe, you experience. You change your perception. You change your self-identity. Drop all the human labels, the IMRs as I call them, and realize they're just experiences. What you are is the consciousness, ultimately all consciousness, that's having that experience. And when you realize that, you expand, as your self-identity expands into I am consciousness, so the swathe of possibility and probability, the field of consciousness all around us, so you go deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And suddenly you can manifest a much greater range of possibility and probability. That's why when people start to awaken, they notice all this synchronicity in their life. My God, fancy seeing you here. What's the chances of that? It wasn't happening before. It wasn't happening before because and this is one of the great truths that this cult wants to keep from us, because it knows this. Your perception is a frequency. Every time we think, every time we feel, we're generating a frequency depending and relating to those thoughts and those emotions. And so what we call perception is actually the sum total of that field generated by our emotions and by our thoughts and by the heart if we open